All right, many thanks for joining us. It's still Politics HQ on New Central Television. At this time, we focus on Anambra State, where rising tensions are casting a shadow over the November 8th governorship election. A new report from CLEEN Foundation has identified 5 local government areas as high-risk zone, highlighting killings, attacks on electoral offices, and politically linked violence. From Ihiala to Ogbaru, the situation looks grim. Over 200 deaths, multiple political assassinations, and growing concerns that misinformation and criminal threats could undermine the democratic process. So, is Anambra State ready or safe for credible polls, or are we headed into dangerous territory? To analyze this findings, I'm joined by Dr. Salaudeen. Hashim is a public policy analyst, and also I have Daniel Ezeigwe, is the senior media aide to the governor of Anambra State. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let me start first with you, Mr. Ezeigwe, particularly your reaction to this report by CLEEN, saying that describing 5 local government areas as high-risk zones, and it highlighted a couple of issues: killings, attacks on electoral offices, politically linked violence, assassination attempts, and growing concerns of misinformation amongst criminal threats. I mean, as the senior media aide to the governor, how do you react to this, what I call a report from this group?
Well, thank you once again for having me here. It's a election period, and we usually get things like this when it's election period, and you see organizations coming up with statistics, driving their trade and saying things that may or may not exist. I don't know if this survey was actually carried out in Anambra State. I don't know if the people that did the stuff actually came to Anambra State, or they relied completely on social media reports and propaganda, false narratives. Anambra State is safe. I don't forget that in August we had a by-election in Anambra South, Ihiala inclusive, and the election was aired on national media platforms, and there was no single case of violence. There was no single case of crime where we didn't hear about these political assassinations, in quote, violence, and all these exaggerated numbers that they are coming up with now. So if we had election in August and we're about to have another election, a governorship election in November, so I think we should look at the right records. And the records are that Anambra is safe. Okay. An election has been conducted in Anambra State, and it went on successful, and there was no issue of violence. And the results that are called, the statistics that you are referring to might have been a case of people drawing their facts or drawing their narrative from social media, or drawing their narrative from hearsay or from things that are not even in existence.
All right. So basically,
I hope you saw a few days ago, yesterday, you saw Ezeigwe is in Anambra South. Okay. The traditional law that hadn't been in his palace in the last 5 years. Osumoru, Liru, this place we are held by unknown state actors.
So basically, just to
clearing their house, clearing their markets, clearing their churches, and they are back to town. They are back to business.
So basically, what you are saying, Mr. Ezeigwe, because we're really racing, with time here. So what you are saying is that many of these allegations, particularly with those local governments mentioned, are pretty much exaggerated, and there is no base or foundation to it.
Exaggerated and misinterpreted.
You
are a journalist. How much of Anambra violence cases in Anambra State, have you reported or have you read to?
Okay, I would come back to you. I'll come back to you. Please hold on a second. Let me bring in Dr. Salaudeen Hashim. Dr. Salaudeen Hashim is not just a public policy analyst. He's also affiliated with the CLEEN Foundation. I know that, of course, is the program advisor and head of the, the office here in Lagos. So maybe you can just give us, a behind the scenes, a perspective of how the foundation worked and how it was able to maybe come up with this kind of statistics.
Thank you very much. I also would thank the colleague, the SSA, for his analysis. To be very honest, he's quite very clear in his thoughts. But the question remains that, one, I will isolate the report and then, of course, give a bigger picture. In trying to isolate that report was the fact that we do a little bit of consistent analysis of trends to be able to just put security stakeholders on alert. Just to also let everybody know, there is nothing political about the report. The report is actually a strategic and consistent early warning document that allows for security and other electoral management bodies to just get prepared and, of course, know where to deploy their assets. And of course, for us, in all of those presentations that we made around those facts were because of threats and drivers, and of course, doing a reflection of 2022 and 2024, looking at the level of fatalities that we have recorded, and of course, relying heavily on local rapid intelligence. That particular report was validated with very strategic actors. So yes, your question remains, are there going to be potential threats in the elections? There might not be, but again, what you have simply done is to throw up potentials and triggers. And we said they were blinking and they were vulnerable, and that, of course, security stakeholders should look in that area. It is not an attempt in any way to put either the government or the security stakeholders in the bad light. To be very honest, the intention of that report was basically to be able to just do a trend analysis and say, look, let us put additional effort in some of these areas. And of course, for me, is that, look, there is no too much security that we can take care of. And if you have not taken care of the drivers, for instance, one, the logistics, two, the issue that borders around funding, and three, of some of these armed groups, the question remains, how do we want to completely just relax and say the atmosphere is good to go? And remember, we are going into a more high-staked governorship election where the stakes are higher. And of course, please don't also forget that in Anambra State, there is also a whole lot of money bags who put in money into quite a whole lot. And there is also the very clarity in how community structures have also been politicized. So we were quite deliberate and, of course, very scientific in the approach that we adopted. It is not in any way to put everybody in a bad light. And if you check that report, there were actually a catalog of what we simply did was just to put together the numbers between 2022 and 2024 of the kind of variety of things that has happened. And of course, use that as a basis to now look into the future to say, look, we need to just look and just be more careful. So it is not to cast aspersion on any security stakeholders or cast aspersion on the state government. To be very honest, they have been very strategic and they have been very deliberate. Yes, we can acknowledge that. But what we are simply saying is that you cannot be too careful in security matters. We need all the necessary resources and all the human intelligence that will help us to have a free, fair, and credible election. That is exactly what our reporter simply said.
All right. Of course, we will continue with this conversation. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we will dig deeper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. I still have Dr. Salaudeen Hashim as the public policy analyst. I also have Daniel Ezeigwe as the senior media aide to the governor of Anambra State. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Now, Mr. Ezeigwe, let me come to you on this one. Now, recently at an event, organized in your state, that's the 2025 Igbo Day celebration, organized by the Ohanese, the governor of your state, Professor Charles Soludo, actually, in a way, berated the Ndigbo for turning the guns against themselves, noting that the orgies of killing, kidnapping, and heinous crimes in the region were perpetrated by, certain Igbos against themselves. He raised concern on this and sort of admonished that there should be unity. I'd like you to speak on that and the efforts being made, particularly when it comes to the issue of security in the state.
One thing you should know about the governor of Anambra State, Professor Salaudeen, is that he's a man of emphasis. He makes intelligent emphasis, and he doesn't hide behind the window, behind the curtain to say things that are not there. He tells you the truth as it is. This issue is that issue of insecurity in the southeast, not just Anambra State alone, in the southeast. There used to be this mindset or this belief that these issues were the crimes were committed by herdsmen and all of that. But the governor has come out to say that most of the arrests that his administration has made in Anambra State in terms of capturing the people that are perpetuating these crimes, most of them, about 90% of them, are Igbos. They are Igbos. So it's about Igbos going after Igbos. And the governor is clear, making it clear that if we want to get it right, we must call ourselves together. We must have this understanding as a community, as one people, to address the insecurity in our region. And doing that, we must be very conscious of the fact that it's not now about agitation. This is about what the governor calls lucrative criminal enterprise. It's not like people hide behind agitating for Biafra, and they're committing all sorts of crimes, killing people, maiming people, destroying houses, doing all sorts of atrocities in the name of agitation. And it's no longer agitation, because the agitation that I know is about agitating peacefully, being political, being strategic, and not necessarily about bearing guns. And the governor is leading this campaign to bring the southeastern states together, to get them to have a talk at the round table, to talk about how we can come together to protect our communities, how we can come together to lead education, to lead awareness, and let our people know that this issue that is killing us is within and not from outside.
All right, thank you so much. I understand that, of course, this is where we need to draw the curtains. I'd like to say a big thank you for, of course, your time on the program today. But before we go, in 30 seconds, Dr. Hashim, I'd like you to, of course, just, if you were to advise, the government of Anambra State, in 30 seconds, what will it be?
Yeah, I mean, you must admit that the governor is very clear in his thoughts. I attempted to work directly or indirectly with some of his materials, and I know how very strategic it can be. But what he should do now is how to galvanize all the security assets in the state to collaborate and work more efficiently together. I think that is where that is important. Secondly, we need rapid local intelligence that will support all these efforts to strengthen and secure the state better. And maybe thirdly is how we depoliticize most of the community structures. If we do these three strategic efforts and reduce the level of kinetic intervention and improve more on our non-kinetic efforts, I am very, very certain that the governor would be able to look through in that direction as something that will be very useful for him to adopt.
All right, gentlemen, once again, I'd like to say a big thank you. Dr. Salaudeen Hashim is a public policy analyst, and also Daniel Ezeigwe, the senior media aide to the governor of Anambra State. Even as the state enters, it's a governorship election season, I'm sure we'll have more of you on the program. But once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time.